In this video, we will see the impact of sustainability on the financial sector. Our agenda is as follows: the introduction, the need for sustainability in the financial sector, the industry best practices, a global perspective for the best practices, and an Indian perspective for the best practices being followed. Sustainability is achieved by allocating financial capital between different economic activities. Some of the core activities are mergers and acquisitions, which encourage sustainable practices among merging firms, fiduciary responsibilities, monitoring through global indices like Dow Jones indices for tracking sustainability of the top 2500 financial institutions, and overseeing sustainable investments. The major trends in sustainability across this sector are cooperative banks, Grameen banks, green loans, and community based banks. We see that there is a need for best practices. The access to capital market ensures reporting, which allows for enhanced performance profiling by lenders, business partners, and customers. Investor interest depends on sustainability reporting, which is an important parameter to attract investment. Standard & Poor's ESG, or Environmental, Social and Governance India Index, tracks triple bottom line reports. Cost savings are responsible for reducing material costs. These factors come under tangible benefits. Now, there is a competitive positioning of financial products among consumers and stakeholders. This leads to a reflection of corporate governance strategies being deployed. As a result, there is an improved shareholder relationship due to risk mitigation and improved shareholder value. Brand enhancement of a firm is due to the responsible performance being displayed by the firm. Likewise, these factors come under intangible benefits.
We will now focus on why emerging markets are considered as early adapters. The banks in emerging markets rely on funding for development by financial institutions and banks. This has made it easier for the establishment and integration of sustainability initiatives in emerging markets due to the presence of supervising financial institution. Developing countries are facing issues in maintaining check on pollution, and this has led to a negative impact of core industries on the environment. The financial sustainability regulations developed by major leading banks have supported various capital inflows into the developing countries from across the world. Some of the key drivers for sustainability in finance are lenders' ability, borrowers' ability to meet borrowers' ability to meet obligations, growing environmental concerns, and business opportunities. Some of the major banks which have implemented sustainability practices successfully are Citibank, AXA Bank, and Standard Chartered.
Now let us look at some of industry's best practices. Across the world, governments are searching for new policy measures to mobilize investment for long-term sustainable development. With rapidly evolving economies, it has been realized that an efficient system to allocate scarce economic resources is very important given the increasing social inequities, environmental impacts, and other externalities. In the Indian context, there is a need for developing a sustainable financing policy for banks and financial institutions, exploring the role of capital markets in India in efficiently allocating capital to key green economy. For that to happen, certain steps have been incorporated in the Indian financial sector, making certain efficiency benchmarks mandatory and instituting the requisite monitoring and contract enforcement framework. Investing in sustainable infrastructure increases the long-term viability of infrastructure projects. However, infrastructure credit protocols do not take this into account. This can be secured by incorporating the returns from efficient sustainability enhancing investment in infrastructure into lending protocols. Second, reworking the priority sector lending or PSL policy towards facilitating identification of sustainable businesses. The renewable energy sector should be put under PSL category, specifically for off-grid and decentralized projects. Unutilized amount under PSL should be diverted to clean energy. Next, green bonds. Green bonds could be one such path towards gathering funds in this area as this market is growing rapidly across the globe. This market is also characterized by longer tenure and hence it could be an attractive option of investment in the clean energy space. Next is global green funding. IREDA or IREDA with a larger financing capability mandate is well positioned to deploy green global funding and other financial institutions that would be available to India, example through Green Climate Fund, that is GCF. Next is green flag investments into companies that are transparent and efficient. An example of such a mechanism based on objective assessment framework is the S&P BSE Green Index, a benchmark financial and energy efficient performance index on the Bombay Stock Exchange. Next is climate public expenditure review of central and state budgets to identify existing public expenditures that promote climate change adaptation and mitigation. Using this evidence, the pipeline global climate finance to augment these activities through the budgetary mechanism rather than through fragmented projects as is presently the case with GEF. Last but not the least, catalyzing efficiency gains in small and medium enterprises. Multiple studies have shown that good energy governance is linked to good governance. There are performance gaps between leading Indian and global companies in energy consumption that holds true for the SME sector, where 95% of the companies do not have access to international finance. In this context, financial institutions such as Small Industry Development Bank of India or SIDBI are helping in capacity building of MSMEs and are effectively working towards their resource transformation. SIDBI has extended subsidized lines of credit to MSMEs with bilateral support from the government of Germany and Japan.
In the global perspective, there are many principles and frameworks which aim to bring in sustainability in the financial sector. Let's have a look at a few of them. The first one is the Equator Principle. Effective from 4 June 2013, the Equator Principles are a risk management framework for determining, assessing, and managing environmental and social risks in projects. After assessing these risks and analyzing the outcomes, the projects are funded. Then we have sustainable stock exchanges. Stock exchanges across the world are trying to create sustainable capital markets in a collaboration with United Nations. Then we have UNPRI or UN Principles for Responsible Investment. Investors publicly commit to adopt principles for a better society which involves ESG issues into environment analysis, decision-making processes, and ownership policies and processes. Then we have Climate Bonds Initiative, in which the total bond market, which amounts to around 100 trillion US dollars, can be used for climate change solutions across the world. Then there is Insurance Development Forum, which enables growth of insurance related capabilities and capacity to support disaster risk reduction and wider objectives of the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals. Another principle is the Montreal Carbon Pledge, in which investors commit to measure and publicly disclose the carbon footprint of their investment portfolios on an annual basis. Now let's have a look at the various initiatives taken up by some global players in financial sector towards sustainability. First, we'll start with the MasterCard. MasterCard has developed new financial products and operating models to attain sustainability, and it also provides finance for sustainable agriculture. Then we have Standard Chartered Bank, which provides or raises capital for investing in healthcare institutions. It also raises finance to fund projects related to forest preservation. Then the third one is Yes Bank, which enhances risk and opportunity analysis and also uses new technologies like mobile banking and wallets to increase financial inclusion in areas which don't have access to banks. Then we have AXA. AXA has decided to triple its green investment to over 3 billion euros by 2020. It has also decided to pioneer international surveys on the climate resilience of cities and SMEs along with PSI. Then we have Rabobank, which develops new pricing models which incentivizes more sustainable living. It also underwrites many renewable energy developments. Then we have Aviva. Aviva has decided to increase the long-term finance for public-private partnerships in renewable energy and to also develop models to improve risk reduction and resilience.
Given the climate conditions in developing countries like India, it is imperative that rapid growth strategies are taking sustainability into consideration. Following are the few points that financial sector can focus on while funding such initiatives. One is financing low carbon, climate resilient development. Second is deployment and mobilization of credit for clean energy. Third is development of sustainable policies for financial institutions. Fourth is stimulating leadership by drawing on international practices. Fifth is building financial sector capacities. Sixth is increasing access to sustainable finance. And seventh is strengthening financial institutions. To ensure sustainable development, India requires huge inflows of investment from both public and private entities. RIS, the Research and Development Information Systems for Developing Countries, is a program of consultations among policymakers. Following are certain sustainability initiatives that are taken in financial sector in previous years. Like in 2008, S&P ESG India Index was launched. In 2011, National Voluntary Guidelines on Responsibilities of Business was released. In 2012, the S&P BSE Carbon Index was launched, and SEBI's mandate for inclusion of business responsibility report as a part of the listed entity's annual reports became mandatory. In 2013, MSCI ESG India Index was launched. In 2014, the Companies Act of 2013 mandated that 2% of the profits towards CSR are necessary for any company. In 2015, various steps were taken like inclusion of renewable energy under priority sector lending, Miniratna status was granted to IREDA, IBA's guidelines on responsible banking, XIMB Bank of India issued a 5-year US 500 million green bond, and Yes Bank issued the first INR denominated green bond. Recently in 2016, SEBI proposed a new norms for issuance and listing of green bonds. After getting an overview of sustainable financial systems in India, let's understand the initiatives that are getting momentum. The first one is responsible banking. It means that capital allocations are made for the point of preserving stakeholder interests. Now, the two main initiatives that are added are as follows. One is social infrastructure, where the bank provides loans up to 50 million for building social infrastructure. Second is renewable energy. Here the bank provides loans up to 150 million for projects that involves use of renewable energy. For example, SBI, it ventured into generating green power by installing windmills. Moreover, it also financed solar energy and pollution control projects. The second such initiative is greening the bond market. The major difference between a green bond and the other bond is that the green bonds are majorly used in financing projects that are green and solves environmental problems. It uses debt capital markets to fund projects that provide climate solutions. Sustainability in equity market is another new initiative that is coming up, which includes some insurance policies on weather. Moreover, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana was also launched for farmers. When it comes to public finance, the coal cess and excise duty has been included, municipal bonds are introduced, Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency is working towards public finance, and multilateral agency and development assistance is given to those who need it. To conclude our discussion in financial services sectors when it comes to sustainability, we can definitely say that the financial services sector plays a role in virtually every area of sustainability. Now, some of these actions are in response to regulations. Some have arisen as a result of regulation but have gone well beyond regulatory requirements, and a substantial number have been driven by private sector recognition of opportunities to benefit their businesses while undertaking activities that contribute to sustainability. Other initiatives have arisen from partnerships like business to business, between business and non-profit organizations, and between business and government. Although there is a long way to go in meeting the environmental challenges, it seems apparent that growing number of businesses recognize opportunities as well as the challenges in achieving sustainability. Thank you.